You've tuned into the Bellingham podcast for the week of April 22, 2018, episode 77. From the city by the Salish Sea, I am AJ Barsay.
And from everybody's favorite zip code 98226, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, if a Facebook post is made and no one reads it, is it still likable? Yeah, we're going to talk about the Cambridge Analytica thing. But hang on now, it's us. We're not your typical tech pundits. Plus, we got some news on a local Fairhaven business, and I make yet another foray into a new online social medium. It's tech, Whatcom County, and a whole lot more next on the Bellingham podcast. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
So glad to be on the stick. How's it going, AJ?
Doing well, Chris. You're
giving me the silent treatment there for a second. I'm looking at you and just kind of looking around. I'm like, start it off.
Was I going to do it? Were you going to do it? I didn't know.
You always do it. That's our shtick.
I know, but for 77 of them,
yes.
I thought I would wait. I'd give pause. I would think. Anyway.
You asked me how my week was.
How was your week?
I'll tell you how my week was. You ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese when you're a kid?
Fun fact, never did.
Oh, my God. Well, that's safe for 78. We're going to talk about that. Anyway, in Chuck E. Cheese, they have a thing where a bunch of animals pop up.
Whack-a-mole?
Yes. And you are given a foam-padded
mallet.
And when they pop up, you hit them. And this week, I played technology whack-a-mole.
Yay!
All these things came up. I need help with this. I need help with this. Whack, 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 whack. And it got to the point where I'm actually taking that foam mallet and I'm hitting myself in the head with it. It was that kind of week. Let's talk about something happy.
Happy.
Such as?
So I have a plug and a shout out.
Plug and shout out time. Not one with a theme yet. I'll come up with that later.
No. Anyway, plug and shout out. Chris, don't derail me. Anyway, local business. I've mentioned them before. Found Leather Goods in Fairhaven. Hi, Nikki. What's up?
Hello, Nikki.
So we haven't mentioned Found in a while, largely because Nikki's been out of the studio for medical and other reasons. But anyway, she's back in the
saddle
studio
again.
Back in the saddle again.
Yeah, leather saddle naturally.
But this time, I brought you with me so you could actually see the new Skookum studio.
Yes, and what a wonderful location! What a wonderful view! What a wonderful world.
This leather world it shall be.
Right.
But no, I just wanted to give a plug and a shout out largely because one, they're a local business. Two, their studio is been much like I mentioned a couple episodes back. They moved up to I'll call it the penthouse suite. I mean, it's a corner suite. It's pretty cool in the old brick Fairhaven building, right next to it's. You even kind of looked at me like,
where the heck it was, but yeah.
You looked at me kind of like, what is this platform 9 3/4?
I was lost in trying to find Found.
Anyway, it's near like Artwood in that area.
It's right next to Fairhaven Poké and right on the corner, kitty corner from that wonderful statue of the guy on the bench.
Yeah.
Fairhaven, like by
dude. There was did you see that meme or not meme?
The meme,
mime.
The mime, the lady that dresses all.
Dude, that was creepy cool.
Creepy cool is the way to put it. But yes, that's one of the things I've seen. This mime lady, mimette.
Mime lady?
Sure.
I don't know.
On downtown.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to drive and not get in a wreck by rubbernecking. But yeah, no, Found Leather is worth the walk. It's worth the Google Maps to try to find the correct business, but also it's a hike up, folks. Put on your hiking shoes.
There's several flights of stairs, but anyway,
it's worth the hike upstairs.
Yeah, as you ascend, though, like it's an old Fairhaven building, right? And so as you ascend, it's all rickety and creaky, and then you meet like the last couple of steps, and then you get this waft of leather.
Oh yeah,
you know you're in the right spot.
It's kind of like when you walk into a tire store and you get that waft of the tire rubber, and it's like, oh, that. Tire rubber, leather, and bacon are 3 scents I love smelling when I walk into a room. You heard it here, Force.
Wow, this is an interesting start to a show. Anyway, Found Leather Goods, because there's always something cool in there. Whether for guys, I do want to point out she has leather valets now, which is really cool.
Absolutely. And I saw some wallets.
Yeah.
I saw some, definitely a lot of bags.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of development going on there. Developer.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, as we're walking, out of the leather zone, upstairs. I'm thinking that place is just waiting to become a reality TV show.
Right? It looks like a scene, like a set.
You've got the picturesque view of the office. You've got the personalities of the nice people that work there. And you've got this fabric and craft. Get the audio montage as they're kind of working on the thing, and then get the other room confessional as they're talking about, I really wanted to make this wallet like this, but Nikki said that we should make our bag like this. You could totally have a reality series like this.
Okay, we've gone
You
off
weren't expecting that one, were you?
I've gotten off the rails. Anyway.
We had, you know what, AJ, we got to have this kind of laughter and this kind of lightheartedness, because what's our next topic?
Facebook.
Exactly.
But before we do that, you might be listening to us on KMRE 102.3 FM.
Low power.
Community radio here in the heart of the city of subdued excitement. Okay, so before we get started, at the top of the main topic, which is Facebook and Cambridge Analytica and Oh My. 1, we're not a political show. 2, we're not a news show. And 3, if we were, we would probably do it better.
And we probably have to drink a lot heavier than we already are.
Possibly. But what Chris and I want to do for this next bit is the whack-a-mole that Chris had alluded to. One of the things that we have been hit with left, right, and center as the main topic of debate is, oh my gosh, what do I do with my Facebook? How do I insert whatever sky is falling scenario that you have here? And what Chris and I want to do for this next bit is basically boil down not the political rhetoric that maybe you have seen on a plethora of different news outlets, but reality for a real person that used Facebook, who continues to perhaps want to use Facebook, but what do you do in this new scenario that we have been dealt? And so that's what we're going to talk about. And at the top of this, I have a link. Very brief article linking back to a Vox article that's just very succinctly talks about this thing called the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulations. These are the regulations that you may have seen as a news headline regarding the European Union that doesn't get enacted until late May. But in it, specifically, it talks about what Facebook has on you, what advertisers your information goes to, and also this other nice thing called biometrics, which you've probably used on your phone several times. Your thumbprint is a form of biometrics. Another form of biometrics that is more commonly used and has been used in social networks since probably its inception is facial recognition. And so we're going to talk about each individual bits of this, and I'll have links in the show notes of specifically like what settings we're talking about, because these are settings in the preferences of the big blue bar that you've probably overlooked. Full disclosure, I did too. This was a nice recall for me, because the advertising profile that Facebook had on me was fairly dated and also very mixed mash, because as much as my wife is very savvy, sometimes she forgets that I do things on my computer. She opens up a new tab and voila, I see Ugg boots in my feed. So we're going to talk about a lot of these.
Don't be besmirching Ugg boots.
Well,
they're high quality goods.
Ugg, Chris.
Exactly.
Anyway.
This is all I can do to try to have some kind of like lightheartedness about this topic. Yeah. And so if you know by now, folks, I don't have a Facebook account, but
you looked over my shoulder this morning.
Yeah, and as I'm watching, this morning as we were reviewing for this show and getting prepared, and I'm looking at some of this information, I'm just it's absolutely shocking. Just they have all of that from way back when. Mm-hmm. They have so much on it's staggering. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we are the product, and they've been keeping track. They're keeping score. And
also, before we really tackle this, also at the end of this shtick, Chris and I have some other kind of food for thought as we go forward in this neo-social politics that we have going on. Like, for instance, if you're fed up with this and you want to know, well, what do I do? Well, we got some ideas for you. But first, we're going to get through the nitty-gritty, because first and foremost, the question that I get a lot, Chris, is, oh my gosh, did you guys hear about the Cambridge Analytica? Yes, we did. What do you think I should do? Should I delete Facebook? For the love of Pete, yes, that's the easiest way. Get rid of it.
But of course, good luck trying. That's a whole episode in itself. But yeah, if you want to just end this, nuke it.
Nuke it. There is there is a psychology behind Facebook. If you go into the settings and you decide to delete your account, Facebook tries to coax you and actually guilts you into keeping your account active. Look at all these 500 friends of yours. They're going to miss you. If
you log in before 30 days,
yeah, then it'll be reactivated and stuff. Like they do make it hard on your heart to delete your Facebook. There's another way that you can go about this, which is deactivating your Facebook, but that still keeps your data up on their servers and just means that your account is not active. People can't tag you, search you, find you. Deleting it, however, there is a hold time. I believe you're right. It is 30 days. And
they may move it to 90.
Maybe. Who knows? It's in the terms of service.
Let us know, Mark. Hashtag BHAM podcast. Love to hear from you, buddy.
Oh, that would be funny. Anyway, so when it comes to Facebook, remember, this is an elective service. You do not have to have it, nor maintain it, nor have to keep it. And there is an asterisk on that, because the next question that I usually get hit once I say that is, well, what do? You have a Facebook? Yeah, you're right. I do. If I was, it is an unfortunate thing that I do. Why? Because otherwise, how do I get to talk about it? It's not like I can go through articles after articles and, vet what they're saying unless I have it and I can do it. And I have said many times on this show, when it comes to Facebook, it is not a personal affair. It is business. I use it to stump the show, my photography, and there's my full disclosures as per usual.
So let me ask you this, AJ. Having the discipline of Facebook, do you have the Facebook app on your phone?
I do not, and have not for several years.
So as we're approaching these what can you do topics, what if you were to take a step towards eliminating it or balancing out your Facebook diet by removing the app from your phone?
Yes.
Now, does that mean you're not going to get any of those messages from your friends since you are well entrenched in the Facebook Messenger?
Funny that you should say that. Part of the settings in Facebook is that if you want, you can have a mailer sent to you that gives you a daily, weekly summary of what you missed on Facebook. Or if you're like me, you disabled that because I see it as spam.
I see the just the heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching pain in your eyes as you're talking about this and how you have a Facebook account. I appreciate this because I don't have one, and you notice how quiet I am as far as this. I don't speak on stuff that I don't have direct experience with, and so it is a necessary evil in the tech sphere. But I'm happy that you chose to continue on with your Facebook. I'm just thinking of ways, how we can limit that diet.
Right. So along those same lines, yes, you can delete the Facebook app, and that will help with the tendency. And if you look back a couple of episodes back, I think it was in the 50s and 60s, we did
back in the day,
we gave you some recommendations on how to purge yourself from social media so that your psychology and your tendency to boredom, killer, distraction, sucking, that may happen during your day, it'll kind of help mitigate that. But a lot of people run into the same issue. Well, I'm a business owner and I have a business page, so I have to have a Facebook account. Yeah, you're right. But you do not have to be truthful. Like, I would like to reiterate this. Since probably 2007, a lot of what is on my Facebook profile is publicly searchable long before there was a Facebook. It is my first, last, location. My birth date is wrong. It has been wrong since I can remember, because at one point I was doing a demonstration on how you should not put truthful information on social networks, and Facebook locked me out on being able to change it back. So my birthday has forever been 1913, and dang, I look good for my age.
You certainly do. Are you like me? Do you put April 1st as your birth date on online accounts?
Yeah, and my location of birth, Earth.
I actually don't put Earth, but yeah, that's a good one. Obfuscation.
Yes.
Is that how we roll?
Yeah, because here's the thing is when it comes to a Facebook profile, and if you make it either publicly searchable or only searchable for people who are on Facebook, that is a common security question. What is your birth date? Why make it easy? So and then we could go down a different rabbit hole when it comes to that, but what really gets a lot of people up in arms now that I've mentioned, what do I do? You have a Facebook, so if you have one, I can have one too. Sure, you can. purge all of your data that's on there, but that's only going to do so much going forward, unless you were like me and you purged many, many moons ago, getting rid of Facebook tagging of your face on all of these photos and forcing not auto tagging when people upload stuff of you. One of the settings that you can now look at and it's been there for a while, but I've overlooked it, and I have a link from Facebook on how they deal with, quote, their ads, or as they like to call it, Facebook explains how their ads work, with air quotes. There are several settings that might be a little bit jaw-dropping, as I showed Chris this morning, because one of the first panels that will be presented to you is your information. This is information you did not volunteer. This is information that they gathered, they being the Facebook, gathered from you in your usage of Facebook. Well, what might be there? Well, let me pick off a couple of categories that Facebook had figured out about me. 1, parent. 2, my birthday and the birthday month. That I dig arts, entertainment, and media. I also am a Facebook admin. Gmail user. Now that's interesting that they picked that off, largely because the account that I had signed into my Facebook for several years used to be a Gmail. It will also give you a U.S. political standing if you're in the United States. It will say something like U.S. politics liberal, U.S. politics conservative. Well, that's interesting. It will also give you things like uses mobile devices and then give a month perspective, 10 to 12 months, 5 to 7 months, and that is how your usage is. And then also it'll tell you straight up, owns, the name of your device, such as iPhone SE, iPhone 7, Samsung Galaxy Plus. This is all stuff that it gains from you using their service. I didn't volunteer any of this. So out of that, you can go in and start disabling things based off of that usage data, such as advertisers that you interact with. Now, here's the funny part. You might think that this is, these are ads on the Facebook platform that I click on, and then they log that so that they know, I like Prometheus flashlights. No, because here's why. A lot of the things that I showed you this morning are apps on my phone, such as Uber or Audible or name a few other in there. These are also sites that are that they figured out based off of my usage while being signed in, because Facebook tracks you, while being signed into the same browser, and it brings it back to the platform. And there was a lot of them, as you saw.
Yeah, I saw quite a bit.
And they make it difficult for you to remove them because they present you 2 rows at a time. And if you were like me and you had over 100 of them, you had to click the Show Me More button quite a few times to pick off all of these advertisers that you did not want as part of your advertising bucket, let's say.
And so when you got through with this, you scheduled an appointment with a massage therapist to take care of the forearm.
Tuesday.
So you don't get carpal tunnel, right?
That will be Tuesday.
Yeah.
But if you go to the settings that I described, you'll go through and if you, regardless if you're a technologist or not, you will be a little bit shocked, because I saw in here and I showed you, because there was like hand purses was one of the things. I'm like, no, Chris, this is not one of my things. Clearly, when my wife was looking at something, they sniffed it.
I'm not judgmental. If you like hand purses, it's all good, dude.
Thank you, Chris. I'm glad that you embrace. Anyway, so
anywho, moving along. But go through your settings as you're listening to this. Put it on in the background, and you can listen to us, because it's going to take you a while. It'll also give you things like, remember that when you use an app on your phone, and on certain phones, you also can upload, because it's useful. It'll update your contacts list for you and pull down their Facebook pictures and put them on your contacts list. Remember that you just gave a company your contacts list. Yeah. And this is where the Cambridge Analytica thing comes in, because, and I got scooped into it. As a matter of fact, I've been notified by Facebook now twice by 2 different applications that were on their network where I did not use the app, but somebody in my social graph did, and my data was pulled in both of those apps. Thanks, friends.
And
it's not their fault.
No,
right?
it's not.
We can't blame them.
No, and that's
all
not
in this together.
Right. That's not the purpose of the show. But again, it can, if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody, and you just need to be a little bit more savvy. And so that's why we wanted to point out where you can go under the Facebook ads section of your settings and start culling all of this. You can also disable things like, there's only 3 categories, which I thought was funny. Like you can disable, like, do you want to see alcohol ads? Basically it's, the more sensitive topics, perhaps by religious affiliation.
For the heroes among us that are in recovery.
Exactly.
Let's limit that.
So you can actually, there is hard-coded toggle switches for things like that. You can switch that completely off. But anyway, take a look at those settings and do a deep dive and audit what they have and start nixing some of that stuff.
Or else just goof around on the link that we gave you in the show notes and check out to see what they got on you. You might be surprised. Yeah.
So on that same lines, let's pivot a little bit away from the big blue bar and go to, so we went from, well, I want to keep my Facebook, but, so here are some tools for you. The next phase is, well, maybe I want to keep my Facebook and or maybe I just deleted it. So now what do I do, Chris? Where might I go?
Well, there's a lot of options, but if you also need to have the conversation. What
are you doing?
What were you getting from Facebook? Is this to be able to share about your life? Is this about to upload pictures of your family? We've already talked about those in previous episodes. There is a website called micro.blog. It's not...
There's no com or anything like that.
www. Micro.blog. And what this is, it's a both free and paid service, depending on how you want to roll, where you can post things. I believe you have 280 characters to be able to post with. It's currently the same as Twitter now, but it's enough for a paragraph. It uses a markdown, which is a type of shorthand as you are coming up with links and such. And it's a really clean platform. And there's a whole lot of the people on there. And I've jumped in with both feet, like in what we talk about. I'll go first. And I signed up for a paid service so that I can have minimaltech.micro.blog. Normally it would be your username after micro.blog. It's kind of a paid service. And I can also link a domain if I wanted to, like a website that I wanted to direct people to it. And, stay tuned to see how that works out. But what I'm finding with this microblog is it's just nice. I'm watching the people post in the timeline of whom I follow. You can see @messages, very similar to Twitter and Facebook, I guess. You see the pictures, and they're nicely formatted. Decent theme of your timeline. Are you hearing some similarities with some of the big social media outlets? And you can post things. They also have an app for those who have an iPhone. Not quite sure if it's there for Android. I'd have to double check, but... if you wanted to post something, you can follow people. If you have others that are of like mind that you wanted to look for something other than Facebook and maybe create your own little network, here's a free solution. If you wanted to have a kind of a customized address, it's $5 a month. So one less latte at Starbucks, one less sandwich at the deli for lunch. But I find that I'm enjoying sharing more because I'll shoot straight. I've got a couple hundred followers on Twitter. I'm not really one to be the social media maven like some are. And it got kind of discouraging as I'm posting and sharing some information and not much response. Now, in Facebook's, everyone's going to like everything, which is understandable because what's there not to like in Facebook? But what I'm posting is kind of this information, and I'm starting to get some, hey, that was great, thanks very much. Instead of a thumbs up icon, there were people that actually were saying something. I actually like the fact that someone can post something in a timeline and you tap that post and then you can decide if you want to see the full conversation. It's a nice way to kind of, an optional if you want. But one of the things that I wanted to try out, and no, I'm not leaving the Bellingham podcast. Let's just say that right out of the gates. This is awesome what we do, and I'm so thrilled to be here. But there's another side of me. It's more contemplative. It's a little bit more subdued than we are. The voice that I have here, usually in the baritone range, I believe.
Yeah, but yet still gregarious.
There's some technology that tips that I like sharing, and that really fuels me when I can share something that has worked for me with others. And we may throw in a couple of those here and there, but here's an opportunity with this microblog. There's an opportunity that I can create what's called a microcast. What's a microcast? I'll tell you. It's like a podcast, but a lot shorter, only a couple minutes, bite size. And the way microblog is set up, I was able to download an app on my iPhone, record my thoughts, add a title to it and some additional information, and voila, I have a post. I was able to link or connect with a little bit of tech foo to iTunes. And oh my goodness, kids, if you happen to Google, or not Google, if you happen to go in the iTunes podcast store or your podcast app of choice, including my favorite, TuneIn.
TuneIn Radio.
That's right. And you typed in my name, Chris Powell. Oh my goodness, I show up in a podcast. It's a microcast. It's only 1 or 2 minutes long, but yeah, I'm talking about technology. I call it the Minimal Tech Microcast. I'm so minimal, I don't like vowels. You'll hear that at the end of every microcast. Anyway, I'm like giggly for this because I've already recorded 5 microcasts, just talking about various things in tech that kind of matter to me, may matter to others. But it's just it's a nice, you're putting on a new set of sheets on the bed that you sleep on. It smells kind of fresh. And it's something that I want to try out, and I'm kind of digging it because the community is really supportive and active. I'm not seeing a lot of trolls. I'm not seeing a lot of negative naysayers.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of the taboo topics that they're getting into, but you don't have to follow those people if you don't want. So if you're interested in seeing what else is out there outside of Facebook or Twitter, check out micro.blog blog.
Cool. And also along those same lines, what I wanted to bring to the topic is you can always just blog. Like if you're about sharing photos and sharing stories or whatever the case may be, a couple episodes back we talked about Squarespace v the great case of Squarespace v WordPress. Both of those services are stellar, but they do take a lot more time and energy because you are running a website. But with regards to WordPress, there's also themes that basically make a WordPress environment look and smell and taste a lot like either Twitter or Facebook.
Yep.
Except it's just you and your profile, and then you have control over who can comment. And again, I think it comes down to this greater topic that most people kind of avoid when it comes to social media. And that's the psychology that social media has influenced us with. The fact that we feel guilty if we don't interact with a piece of content, or if I don't follow this person, oh, what are they? These are all little like subconscious things that we've kind of gotten enveloped by. Whereas before, if you had something to share, you usually blogged about it or put it on a website and then told your mom and your best friends to go take a look at it.
Yep.
That when it comes to social media, before you really think about pushing delete on the big blue bar or jumping to microcast or jumping to even WordPresses, what did you want to do in the first place?
Yeah. In a couple ways, I think I jumped on because I had some friends that were on and I wanted to see what they were doing and then engage with them online. Well, I realized that I've got some things I want to share and I've got a voice, kind of like how we've been doing this podcast. And this is a great way to exercise that voice. I also have some insights to share about other life topics outside of that newsletter that I do. And if you have something on your mind, micro.blogs, if we did all of the options, that would be a 4-hour show. Yeah. And here's one for you to consider because, hey, it's out there.
Yeah. So on those lines, again, before you start worrying, the sky is not falling. I mean, you voluntarily joined a social network. You voluntarily gave all this information. And it's kind of, and this may be a little bit controversial in nature for me to say this, but it's kind of like because we bought into this is buyer's remorse. We thought that this social network, this lifestyle brand that we wanted to build from of who we are and how we express ourselves, we bought into it and they marketed it. And yes, did they do some shady dealings? Absolutely. But you get what you paid for. And we've said that time and time again on the show. It was a free service, and you don't have to stay with it. And if you feel like you're having fatigue or missing out or anything like that, or if you listen to the show and you're like, AJ and Chris, you guys have missed the mark, go ahead, leave us a voicemail.
Area code 201-731-8324. That's 201-731-TECH. We'd love to continue this conversation because it's just us talking right now. We'd love to hear where you're at with your Facebook. Are you down with it? Yeah. You know, my wife checks out Facebook and sees the feeds of the kids growing up, or, you know, of friends of hers that are out of town or far away. Gets to see what people are doing. That brings her some joy. But of course, she is rather limited in what she sees in her timeline. And so she doesn't really dive into some of the negative territory, negative waters. So if you're digging Facebook, leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you and see how that's going. Let's continue the discussion.
Yeah. And bear in mind also, as you migrate, and this was another kind of fleeting thought that I had from some people who were talking to me is, you know, well, that's why I'm going to Instagram, or that's why I'm going to a messaging service like WhatsApp. Bear in mind that both of those services I just mentioned are owned by Facebook. As a matter of fact, the advertising settings that I mentioned at the top of this show, you will notice that there's a setting that asks you, do you wish to have other Facebook properties take that information so that they can target their advertisements to you?
You're a target. Here we go.
So it's a moving target, and this topic is. But if you feel like you don't know where to go next when it comes to this, and ask yourself, like, are you afraid of missing the content that you created? Because Chris and I are content creators. This is something that we like doing, this podcast, all of this. This is stuff that we do because we like it. It's fun. But if you're worried about, what about, I'm going to miss out on this, it's the internet. There's lots of other ways you can still keep in touch.
And as we found out, the internet rarely gets rid of things.
No, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show. That's 79.
Here we go.
Yeah, done.
Yep, that wraps it up for this more somber edition of the Bellingham Podcast. Thank you again so much for listening to us, rating us, reviewing us on the Google Play, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spreaker, and even Chris's favorite,
TuneIn Radio, yo!
Or if you're in the Bellingham area, you might listen to us over the air, that good old airways. That clean, crisp Pacific Northwest air on KMRE 102.3 FM.
Low power.
Community radio here in the heart of the city by the Salish Sea. And on that note, you can like me or you can unfriend me, but I'm AJ Barce.
And I don't have a Facebook account, so you can't do either. I'm Chris Powell. Thanks again for listening to us on the Bellingham Podcast.
There we go.
You got that over with. Yes.
Man, when it comes to social, I hope there is a day that we don't ever have to bring it up again.
Well, we'll see. On our way to 100, I'm sure we'll have a couple episodes like that.